going on? Welcome back, Fantasy Kingdom. I am your host of the Fantasy Kings podcast. I'm The Peez, joined with my co-host, Carlitos. Say what up, Collie.
What up, everybody? How are you, Peasy?
Doing great, man. I'm really excited for these next couple episodes because we've got our Kings or Jokers. And now the fantasy analysts who aren't a part of the kingdom, they're like, oh, it's a boom, it's a bust. Wah. No, we're doing Kings and we're doing Jokers. So are they going to be a King this year for you on your squad? Or are they going to be a Joker? That's what we're talking about. And before we get started, we want to give a real quick shout out to our boy, J Frank, who's going through surgery. Yes, it's true. He's gotten last place back-to-back years, but we're not going to hold that against him too much, and we hope you get well soon, buddy.
Absolutely love you, Jay Frankie. Honorary mentoring Kelechi Okoro for almost those back-to-back last places. But we're thinking about you. Get well soon, buddy.
Yep. So we're going to jump right in. So on my list, we're doing quarterbacks today. The first king I've got is obviously Patrick Mahomes. He's QB1 on the rankings, QB1 in your heart, QB1 in the world. The reason I like Mahomes over Allen and Hurts and Lamar even is because he's got the highest floor. He also has the highest ceiling, which is insane. But out of all those top quarterbacks you see going, he's the one that's always consistently finishing near the top. You know, his bad year was 37 touchdowns and 4,700 yards.
Yeah, he's lights out. I agree with you. I think he's a king as well. I'm not going to argue with that one. I know you're biased galore. I know even if he wasn't a king, you would say he's the GOAT. He might be a baby GOAT already, but, I mean, he's spectacular. I think he's worth the money for auction leagues, depending on where you can grab him. I don't think you're going to get a discount, but I think you're going to be paying for quality. I think a few other people you might be paying a little bit more, and you might not know what you get. But I think with him, I think anybody who spends the money can pretty much feel confident in that. Yeah,
I agree. And it's like you say, you're not going to get a discount on Mahomes, but if you're paying similar to Mahomes or Allen or Hurts even, you out of those three guys, the guy with the least amount of question marks is Mahomes. So that's why I got him as a king.
Absolutely. And he's durable. So that's another thing. Knock on wood for this guy. I'll go with my first king as QB6, with his average, ADP, Justin Fields. Wearing my Bears gear again all day, every day. I think this is his year 3. Everybody seems to make that extra leap. Couple years in the system. He has help. I think last year he was already stud with fantasy. You just throw in his rushing stats. He was already good. You throw in a couple games where he has 2 touchdowns, maybe even 3. But more so, he's just going to be worth the money for me. And he's really going between ADP 5 all the way to maybe, depending on your league, 8. But I think...
You're talking about quarterback.
Yeah, correct.
5 through 8, guys.
But I think he's going to be good. I think he's going to be a king for me, and I can't wait to spend money. I'm going to actually target him if I can.
Well, so this is going to be our first disagreement is, I disagree. This guy is claiming that I'm the homer. Well, he's over here rocking Bears gear and picking Justin Fields. Now, I disagree for 2 reasons. One is it's the Bears' destiny to never have a good quarterback. I'm sorry, you could have had Mahomes, you passed, and now you're cursed forever like you were before. But in all seriousness, the reason is Fields is great. He's a great athlete, but he's 5-20 as a starter. Now, he didn't have a lot of help, and we're not actually playing football, we're playing fantasy football. But my point here is that with running quarterbacks, you're one awkward hit away from out for 3 weeks with, whatever might happen. And his biggest game is running, his biggest fantasy value is running the ball.
I mean, that's valid, but, I just don't see it. I just think that, he's only going to improve. He has the weapons. The team's overall gotten better. He's a little bit more comfortable. I'm assuming the game's going to slow down for him. We are talking fantasy. We're not talking about winning games. I think he's going to be winning numbers, putting up numbers for him.
And that's, that's not wrong. You could, he could have broken the rushing record last year for quarterbacks if he played in that last game. He's got the high upside, but at QB6, that's a little rich for my blood personally for that draft capital. It's just one of the things where, the upside is insane. So is the downside. So at QB6, I'm going to call him a joker. which takes me to number 3. My next king is going to be Kirk Cousins, as he's going as QB 12. Right now, that's like the low end QB1 area. But again, the reason he's a king for me is because he's always putting up numbers. You can laugh at him for the check down on 4th and 8 in the playoffs. Like, yeah, but that's an actual quarterback. I'm talking fantasy quarterback. I think his average over the last 3 years, I don't think I actually know. Over the last 3 years, Cousins has been the QB7 in fantasy.
I mean, it's a fair assessment. I've just thought, me being the same division, take out, Jefferson, I just don't know what he's going to bring this year. I think he could be okay, but I think most people are going to draft him towards the end. So I think whoever's the 10 spot, 11 spot, 12 spot, as far as filling out their roster, completing it, and how much money they have, that's when I think he's going to go. Is he going to, exceed expectations? Probably not. I don't think so. But I think from a price perspective, it's not like you're overpaying for him. I think you're just hoping that he's going to be consistent. But I would agree to disagree there. He's definitely a joker in my mind.
And this joker is ironically making my point for me because, you're not spending that draft capital, but you're still getting high numbers, high rate of return for it. If I'm drafting Kirk Cousins late, if I'm not spending like too much money on him, and he ends up with 60 points a year less than Mahomes, but he costs $50 less, I make up that $60. I make up that 60 points elsewhere because I'm able to spend money. That's why I'm so high on Kirk Cousins, not because I think he's going to be an MVP and throw 45 touchdowns and 5,000 yards. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be around 4,000 and 30 touchdowns. But at where I'm getting him draft capital wise, that's why I'm in on Kirk Cobains, as they call him.
And I see that. I just see some games he's just going to be a complete dud, and I see some games he'll boom because they're going to be so far behind that they can't keep up and he has to throw. But look at it this way. I'll bring up my next guy, and he's a king to me. And he's got a lot of controversy around his name, but he's going as his QB 9. So from a price point, we're not really talking about too much of a difference. Is Deshaun Watson, and popular pick. I don't know how popular he is out there, but as far as talent, if anybody watched the back half of last year, he didn't look so great. But now he has a little bit more familiarity with the offense. Nick Chubb's still going to beast mode it. I think Amari Cooper still killed it. He was a wide receiver 10 last year with Jacoby Brissett. So with that being said, Deshaun Watson is a total upgrade. And I think last year was just maybe there was just too much negativity around him. So from a king perspective, we just talked about Cousins. These guys are going to maybe be about $5 to $10 difference at most. Really, I'm leaning towards the $5 differences. So I would prefer someone of his athleticism on a better team in my eyes.
And to add to your point, he does have that rushing attack that Kirk Cousins doesn't. Kirk Cousins is not going to go out and rush for 50 yards a game, and Deshaun Watson does have that capability. But he's a joker for me, though, and not because of the countless moral reasons that could have applied, but because he took off. He was off. He didn't take off. He didn't play football for 18 months. And he came back, and he looked bad last year. Now, can he get it back? That remains to be seen. But much like the Bears, the Browns are also destined to not have good quarterback play. So, that one's more heart for me. But it's one of those things with all that time off, I'm just nervous because he played 6 games last year, and those 6 games were terrible. Now he's got a full camp, he's gonna be going in with all that, but I just don't know. So the last one that I've got, the last king for me, is going to be Geno Smith. And I'm going to make this real quick. I do not think last year was a one-year wonder. And they drafted the best receiver in the draft in Jackson Smith and Jigba. So you got Lockett, you got DK, you got JSN. It's primed for to the moon, baby. At QB 13 for Geno Smith, I'm all about that life.
I'll say he's a joker immediately. Of course he's not. You just said, is he going to duplicate last year's numbers? No. Do I think he's going to be even close to that? Still probably no. So he's a joker to me because, yes, he can run. But Pete Carroll wants that team to run the ball more. So I'm looking at it this way. Even though they have the studs of wide receiver, I think he's the joker. There's a few guys that you can get within that limit. So I'm looking to pass on him.
All right, fair enough. Well, Kings, Kingdom, that's going to bring us to the end of this episode about our Kings and Jokers. Let us know what you think in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. And as always, when you play fantasy,
play for the crown.
Catch you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Fantasy Football Kings. You can always reach out to us on Twitter at FFB_Kings or like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're available wherever you get podcasts, so don't forget to download, subscribe, review, and rate 5 stars.